All right, thank you, please, gentlemen.
Interesting.
So good morning. It's 10 o'clock and I'd like to call the Wednesday, September 17th, 2025 meeting of the Tucson-Pima County Joint Consolidated Code Committee to order. We have a roll call, please. We have a new secretary this morning, so I have to give a little.
Mr. Rick Bright,
Here.
Mr. Dennis Kuhn,
Here.
Mr. Jeff Hamstra,
Here.
Mr. Fred Knapp,
Here.
Mr. Dave Gibbons,
Here.
Mr. Thomas Hayes, Mr. Kenneth Cawthorn. Mr. Terry, we have quorum.
Thank you. So go to item number 2, which is the approval of the minutes. 2 sets of minutes got emailed out, so I hope everybody looked at the ones from last month, not the month before. It was up to speed. Okay, we have a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved. Jeff.
Second, Fred.
Any opposed? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so now we're on the item 3, which is the energy code. And Mr. Cawthorn is not here yet. Did he RSVP? Is he coming? Do you know? As far as you know?
I have not heard. I was anticipating he would be here, but I did not see a confirmation.
Okay. So can we move item 5, mental housing, up until Mr. Cawthorn gets here?
Most certainly.
Okay. So let's look at middle housing. So you want to give us an update, Clayton?
Yes, this is Clayton with the City of Tucson. Over the past month, discussing the middle housing amendments with several different groups, it was pointed out that the proposed amendment for fire separation distance for second-story emergency and escape rescue openings, the way it was currently written, would apply to all IRC buildings to include a single-family residence, and that was not the intent. The intent was for stacked dwelling units to have that do not have an emergency escape rescue access on the first floor, to provide that extra ladder space to access those on the second floor. So the amendment was modified slightly to include additional language for stacked units that do not have emergency escape rescue openings on the first floor.
Any comments on the proposed ordinance? No? Everybody's.
I have a comment, not on the subject that we just talked about.
But on the middle housing.
That's right.
Okay.
As I'm understanding it, but this will have the effect of making the IRC, the governing code, for up to 4 units. In the electrical section, the method of calculating loads for service entrances is essentially extracted from the National Electrical Code. And it's a method that the National Electrical Code only allows for 1 family or 2 family buildings. And in the National Electrical Code, if you have a 3 unit or 4 unit building, it's treated like other multifamily where there's different methods of calculating. So that could be a concern. So I took a little bit of time and I ran some numbers. And what I found is that if we leave the IRC method verbatim as it is, and then if that method could be used up to 4 units, that'll actually result in slightly higher load numbers compared to if you did it with the optional method on the NEC. So I think it's safe, but it is different. And I don't know if that's going to cause any confusion as people get into this, but what I was concerned is if it would be the other way, where it would result in a calculation that would be lower than permitted by the NEC. And I think I proved to myself that that would not be the case. So I'm not advocating any change. I'm just suggesting that, it is a stretch to apply this method because it doesn't exist in where the technical foundation of the IRC's electrical counts were expanding it to four. But I don't think there's a negative consequence in that. And in the examples I ran through a 4-unit, it was coming out like 311 amps under NEC, 340 some under the IRC. Well, both ways you'd be buying a 400 amp service entrance anyway, so it probably doesn't even put a hardship. And at least in prior, I believe that the building officials would allow the NEC to be used as an alternative method anyway to the IRC if they wanted to. I think people would be able to do that. So, anyway, I just wanted to say that I've looked at that, and it is something that may have been unforeseen, but I think it'll be okay.
Oh, we got two building officials here. How do you guys view that?
So this is Clayton with the City of Tucson. The amendment at the beginning of the middle housing section. So the red text, where the red text starts, there should be an item that replaces the use of the term 1 and 2 family or 1 or 2 family with group IRC structures. And that's intended to identify every location. We found over 170 references to 1 and 2 family or 1 or 2 family. And rather than including amendments to replace all of those sections, that blanket amendment essentially replaces all of them with the term group IRC. So that intent then is to extend that.
I saw, and it took it to the electrical.
Right. And so to a very valid point, it specifically calls out the IBC, but it does occur in the IPC, IMC, NEC. It's located, that term or those two terms are located in all of the codes. And our intent is to replace all of those references with that new term group IRC. So then it would allow the use of either the IRC or the NEC to perform those calculations.
Okay. Reasonable. Do we have any other comments on the middle housing? Okay. So where does this stand in the process, Clayton, with the zoning component of this?
The zoning component is still, under public comment and public review. We are trying to get the building code amendments settled so that piece is done and the rest of the department can focus on the zoning amendments. There are several discussions that are happening. One is primarily focused on the location, where in the city middle housing is would be allowed by right to be constructed, and so those boundaries are still under discussion, and I believe they went to Planning Commission either last night or tonight. Tonight. I believe they're going to tonight at the Planning Commission. And then some of the other discussions are a standardized setback. I believe the proposal currently is a 5-foot zoning setback. Now keep in mind that would be different than the 6-foot fire separation distance that we're talking about for stacked units. And a few other details to lessen the zoning criteria for middle housing to support that, to potentially include lower minimum lot sizes. So those details, more to come from the Planning Commission.
So, question here. So if someone's building a fourplex outside the boundary, it would go under the IRC?
It could go under the IRC. It could go under the IBC. You now have that option, right? Because theoretically, any home or residential structure could be built under the IBC. So it doesn't have to, but it now allows up to 4 family dwellings to be built under the IRC, assuming that the zoning would support it. So
as long as the zoning
right
that lets you do the fourplex, then you can use IRC. And that goes everything with it, which includes perhaps not needing a registered design professional and a residential contractor.
Exactly. So, just to clarify, to be absolutely clear, the intent here is to allow up to 4 family dwellings to be constructed without using licensed registrant or a commercial contractor or automatic fire sprinklers. So the provision by allowing it to be built under the IRC allows them to be designed by non-registrants and built by residential contractors.
Question, is it still gonna have the 3,600 square foot limit on the evaluation of sprinklers?
Yes. So to the best of my knowledge, there's nothing that can preempt that. So the 3,600 square foot threshold is found in the appendix of the IFC, the International Fire Code, which was adopted and in place long before state provisions for sprinklers or the prohibition against sprinklers and or middle housing. So the adoption of the fire code appendix, way back in the day, gives the city of Tucson the ability to require a fire review for any IRC building that exceeds 3,600 square feet. That is not to say that all dwellings that exceed 3,600 square feet require sprinklers. It's just the requirement for a review. The review would then identify whether or not there's sufficient fire flow available, which is also a calculation based on the nearest available hydrant. So assuming that there's a hydrant within the required proximity, then sprinklers would not be required. If there's no hydrant capacity within the required radius, then sprinklers would be required, just like they are now for single family homes that exceed 3,600 square feet without a hydrant within that minimum distance.
Okay, any other questions, comments? So do we need to approve this so the zoning folks can move forward? Yes. So do I have a motion? Brett make the motion. Second,
Dennis, I think.
any more discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes. All right, so now we're gonna move back to item 3. Okay, we're something you skipped over.
I know.
Nice try, Ken.
I know. I didn't, this is Ken Cawthorn, and I didn't have anything more to add. It looks like, Clayton, you added those 2 comments we had last time. And so by deleting the reference to C40410, and in that table, C40637, and then deleting the requirement for the additional renewable and load managements if you do the energy model. So I didn't have any other things.
And this is Clayton. So just as a clarification, last month we talked about contacting the ICC to find the appropriate reference. We've been going back and forth on that. So rather than potentially putting in another wrong reference or incomplete reference, it made the most sense just to remove that text that states per section C404.10 because the rest of the table works without it.
Right, it does. And because I was going to say, I didn't know if they referenced section CI, appendix CI, which is what 40410, I think, used to be, was appendix CI. So that's what I just wasn't sure about. Yeah. Okay. No, I didn't have anything else.
Okay. Do you have any comments?
I have, although I have not had a chance to go through, ComCheck is now published, but I have not had, it's not published for individual jurisdictions, but it is published, and I just haven't had a chance to go through that yet, just to see how that functions. So,
Okay,
but
yeah, we've been primarily focused on commercial, which I would say is a little more onerous than residential.
yes, yeah. But but the ComCheck is for commercial, and it'd be more of a prescriptive method rather than going through the the energy model.
Right.
So I just wanted to see how that,
So is the res check updated to the new energy code?
well, in the res, but that's the other thing, the IRC, I thought we amended the IRC to eliminate chapter 11 and just go with the IECC. Is that correct?
The 2018 IECC.
Or the 2018
The
IECC?
currently adopted.
Right.
So in the absence of the 2024 being adopted, it would default back to the 2018.
Okay.
Should the 2024 be adopted by mayor and council, then chapter 11 of the IRC will point to the 24 because that would be the new adopted energy code.
Okay.
Okay, so where we're at currently is all the codes for 2024 are slated to be implemented January 1st, except the energy code.
They are currently implemented and currently active. So either the 2024 IRC or the 2018 can be used until the end of the year. Starting January 1st, the 2018 can no longer be used.
Okay.
For all the codes except the energy code.
Correct.
And on the energy code residential, that will be the 18.
It's the eight, well, so the the 2018 is still in effect because no new energy code was adopted yet. And chapter 11 of the IRC was deleted. And the reference for chapter 11 points to the currently adopted energy code, which is currently the 18.
Right.
Any other comments?
This is Dennis. I have a comment. It's a new item that we haven't talked about. But I realized that section C 405.11 voltage drop is different in the 2024 compared to the 2018. And the key thing that it did is that it includes customer-owned service conductors within the 5% limit on voltage drop. 2018, the requirement is for feeders and branch circuits to not exceed 5%. But in the 2024, it says customer-owned service conductors, the feeders and branch circuits not to exceed 5%. So it's a total for the whole thing.
Okay.
So that's a significant change because now we have to calculate the voltage drop on three-phase projects, which are many, perhaps most commercial projects are three-phase. If it's a pad mount transformer, and the basic rule in Tucson is underground services, although there are exceptions for overhead. You're starting from a pad mount transformer. Those conductors from the transformer to the building have to be included in the voltage drop calculation. So now you're forcing the 5% limit on more wire and more distance. That's not true on a single phase installation because on single phase, Tucson Electric Power provides service conductors from their equipment all the way to the terminals of the electric service. Also, if you look at other utilities, in particular Arizona Public Service Company and SRP, those utilities provide the service conductors. So if we let this IECC stand and include the customer-owned service conductor and the voltage drop thing, it's going to put us on a greater economic burden to deal with that compared to everybody else that's being served by Arizona Public Service Company, Salt River Project, and other utilities that may provide the service conductors. I think even on, like in Cochise County, SSVEC, they provide service conductors up to 800 amp services on three-phase. Above that, then the customer provides. But my point is, it's one more thing, more cost, because what will happen to maintain the voltage drop is we have to make the wires bigger someplace. But if the utility provides them, well, then the someplace we have to do it is where we're at now, which is within the building. So it does put a burden on us, and I'm concerned about that just because it's we're all feeling the increased cost of construction, and it also, I've heard all this thing lately in the news about Project Blue, and and economics, and, nobody's gonna wanna build in Tucson, and customers are looking at all these things. Well, that's one more knock to not build in Tucson if it makes your services more expensive. And it ties into Tucson Electric Power Company's rules on what their obligations are to get power to a site also. Because their obligation is to take the shortest path to get the power to the site and put their transformer where they want to put it, which is usually not too far into the site. So that means those service conductors, in some cases, can be fairly long. The Phoenix utilities, because they provide the conductor all the way to the service, they generally move their transformer deeper into the site and would automatically put it tight to the building. But if you're in the TEP area, the first time you submit to TEP, they'll jam the transformer in the corner of the site. And even if we want it close to the building, and they'll say, well, our rules are that we only have to come to here. And then if you want it closer to the building, well, then you can pay them excess facilities money and pay them per foot to move their transformer into your site. Then you can have shorter secondary. So, I mean, there's economic costs either way. So I would advocate that perhaps we should have an amendment to eliminate the words customer-owned service conductors from section C 405.11.
Would it be customer-owned service conductors or just service conductors?
Customer-owned service conductors.
Okay.
Because that's what it says in 405.11, and that's what's different. The word service conductors don't exist in the 2018 code, and if you're in those other utility areas, you don't really have customer-owned service conductors. Utilities provide them.
Right.
So you want to eliminate that phrase so that it applies equally regardless of building,
Yes.
right? Okay. Any comments on that?
Dennis, do you have any concerns as an engineer of that additional footage in your calc still being okay? As far as that secondary?
Yeah, that's an engineering decision I can make
Okay, okay,
instead of being forced into it.
okay. I like that.
That's why Dennis gets the big buck. Okay, any other comments? Someone care to make a motion?
I go ahead, I motion to remove the words, section C 405.11, remove the words customer-owned service conductors. That sentence.
Okay, we have a second.
I second.
Any more discussion?
Is that Jeff?
Jeff, yeah.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We have another amendment.
I'm sorry, but I thought I had to do that.
It's okay. At least you're watching, right? Doing your job.
Nice to have lots of different eyes on this.
Exactly. Yeah, that's probably something that wasn't considered when they were drafting it.
So while we're on the IECC, I was going to ask if either Dan or Clayton have heard. So Phoenix adopted all the 24 codes, including the IECC. Have they had any issues with that so far, or I mean, because the ComCheck literally just came out. How are they seeing plans come through and documenting, or are they, most people, I think that Phoenix was allowing them to request to use the 2018. I don't know if they've had any go through with the 2024 yet.
So this is Clayton. I have not heard. The city of Phoenix is going through some shifts in staffing, and so I kind of lost communication, contact up there due to that shift, and so I couldn't answer that for you.
I may reach out then to the mechanical guy and just check with him. I'll do that. Yeah, just curious how they're documenting it, how they're seeing that go through. So
It's got to go through the Kenyon page.
it is, yeah. And just to get some more input. I mean, because realize we haven't officially gone through section 406 at all. We just are so overwhelmed by it that we've added those amendments to it. But I'd like to see how people that are going through it are, working through it. Now, since the contract is, I can go through it with one of our projects and just see how it works.
Right.
So.
Any other comments?
Yeah, this is Dennis. What about our other jurisdictions in our area? I know Marana adopted 2024 codes, but are staying on the 2018 IRCC, apparently with no plans to update.
That's what I've heard. So,
And I saw somewhere that saying the state of Oro Valley was going to do the same thing. I don't know if that's true or not.
I don't know if that's true.
This is Dan. Yes, that's true. Sahuarita, Oro Valley, Marana are sticking with the 2018 IECC and not moving forward with the 2024. I don't know for how long, but that's how they're proceeding right now. They're not, I don't, and correct me if I'm wrong, Clayton, but I don't believe they're even looking at the energy code right now or amendments or anything.
I only talked to Paul over at Marana, and he did say they looked at it, just were so overwhelmed by it, they said they weren't even going to consider it. That's the last, but I didn't talk to, I can't remember his name at Marana.
Larry Merrill or David Laws?
Yeah. So, but I didn't talk to them, but Paul did say that they weren't going to consider it.
And I was at Saba Tech meeting last night, and Anna from Sahuarita confirmed that they are not adopting it either.
Okay.
That's kind of where we are right now, right?
Yeah.
This is Clayton. So yeah, the amendment that we wrote for chapter 11 seemed to be pretty popular.
Everybody's asking if that could stay.
So any more comments on this?
Well, so then who is pushing to move forward on 2024 in Tucson-Pima County?
So the only fear that we talked about was because of our town council, would they, there's potential that they could say, no, we want to adopt it and just adopt it as is, which would be more horrendous than adopting it with the amendments. So that was the fear. So we're reacting to the fear of that occurring.
Well, I mean, this body only makes recommendations. So
Correct.
we want to make a recommendation that mayor and council can act on.
Correct. Because if we make no recommendation, they could act on their own.
Well, we could make a recommendation that's similar to what I heard was Marana's reaction to the fact that the code is so difficult, adds so much cost, is requiring, make work for that's out of proportion to the results that it gets in terms of energy savings.
Right.
And for that reason, it may not be a code worthy of being adopted. And have we all looked at that side of it close enough to where that could be a viable recommendation?
And this, my thought of it is, Jeff, we're going to have to deal with this sooner or later. So, we've already, Ken's done a lot of work on it. You've done a lot of work on it. That, I think that, the amendments we have in place are going to help us navigate into this realm. And that,
Right.
we do that to be proactive about this rather than having to be reactive in the industry.
Yeah, and there's other things. I think if keeping the 18, the problem is that with the new refrigerants and the new energy standards, the 18 codes really don't apply on a lot of the mechanical equipment. So it's confusing for plan reviewers on what is required. So that falls into it. You almost have to have an amendment then to at least deal with the new refrigerants and that new energy thing. Yeah. So, and I think I mentioned this to your point. I mentioned this before so ASHRAE 90.1, the 2022 edition, which is a copy of, the 2024, and is allowed in the 2024, has already come up with over 90 amendments. So they're on amendment CK right now. So that means they've gone through all of A through Z. They've gone through all of AB or AA through AZ. They've gone all through BA through BZ. And now they've went through CA through CK. That's a whole lot of amendments that the IECC can't do because they don't have amendments to it. So it is a challenging code, but I think with our amendments that we have, I think I'm comfortable with it, and I'm not scared of it anymore. And for the larger jobs, I think it's going to be easier to do an energy model. And with us amending that energy model as we did, that's also, I think, a good approach. I don't know how they would do it up in Phoenix because they didn't have any of those amendments that we have in 406 or 407. So I don't know how they're going to go through it. And that's why I'm curious on how they are going through it. So.
Well, I mean, they're just saying never buy the first version of any software.
Right.
And this is the first version.
This is.
Let's let people like
Right.
Phoenix
You notice there's
work out the bugs.
There's no QR codes in here other than, the first page. Whereas all our other ones, there's a QR code on every page,
Right.
So anyways.
Yeah, I think it's prudent to kind of wait and see how it shakes out before we jump in. So,
Yeah.
We'll see how it shakes out over the next 3 months, 6 months, whatever it takes to shake out.
And I guess I'm going back to what you're saying. I think with the amendments we have, I'm comfortable with it. I'd be a little uncomfortable just recommending to not provide, not just do what like Marana did. Because Tucson's going to come out, Tucson Mayor and Council can come out and say, we want to be better than Marana and better than Oro Valley and more energy conscious than them. And just say and if they ever did just force us to accept this with no amendments, I think that would be devastating. Yeah.
This is Clayton with the City of Tucson. I'd like to also just bring some context to staying on existing codes. I can see from my perspective some advantage to that. However, think about how much work it's been to look at the 21 and the 24 at the same time. If we wait until the 2030 code, which would be the next adoption cycle, okay, we would be jumping from the 2018 potentially to the 2030. Okay, and the difficulty that we've had so far with the vast number of changes in 2 cycles is going to be even more exorbitant trying to jump 4 cycles. So just want to also bring that back to the discussion.
I don't think anybody's proposing to wait till the next cycle. But like I said, it's prudent to kind of wait because this is pretty significant change and not quite sure how it's going to shake out. So let's let Phoenix be the guinea pig and see how it shakes out.
I will reach out to them this week and just see, because it's been now, I think they adopted it August 1 is what I thought it was. So it's been over a month that they've had it. So they've probably had some projects come through. So I will check.
People appeal to use the.
Exactly. That's what I don't know.
Or do people just change the code reference on their cover sheet and goes through and gets approved somehow without being checked?
Yeah, the com check though, how would you do that?
Yeah.
Because that literally just came out. So I don't even know how they would have done that. So
Ask for it to be deferred. People get their permit, but then later on have to deal with it.
Right.
Who knows what that means?
Right.
Okay.
So what does that mean with timing then? I mean, we haven't officially voted on these amendments yet. If we did soon, would the intent be to make it effective on January of 2026, or would we get a 6-month period from the date that we vote here, or that mayor and council actually acts and puts it in?
I mean, that's a good question. Maybe Clayton can answer it.
This is Clayton with the city. So after you vote to recommend amendments to the 2024, you will put it on the agenda for mayor and council to consider, which is also to say, until you make a vote to recommend the 24 adoption, we will not put it on the agenda for mayor and council, because we're not going to move forward with a, presenting to mayor and council for adoption until we have a recommendation from you.
It kind of depends on how comfortable this committee is.
How many more meetings, does mayor and council have this year?
I don't know off the top of my head, but approximately half a dozen. Sure.
So if
I would have to look.
can do some research and make a decision on the amendments in 30 days would be something reasonable.
And this is Clayton again. There is also the potential for mayor and council to request something related to the energy code, absent your recommendation. That is also a potential. But yes, if we push back to the next meeting, that's.
Ken, what's your
So this can, so my thought is whether we wait or not, I'm just curious. It's more of a curious on how Phoenix is dealing with it, because they don't have the amendments that we have. So if they're finding that it's going through pretty smoothly, then maybe the amendments we have are of the 50,000, 100,000 square feet are overly conservative, and we need to back off on those. But my thought is the whole intent of those numbers was that we could back off at any time and modify that amendment at any time. So I'm okay recommending that with the additional amendment that Dennis just mentioned, approving it what it is.
This is Clayton with the city again. Just one other point of consideration is a custom designed ComCheck and ResCheck software for the city of Tucson and Pima County. Once we get an amendment package adopted by mayor and council, we will have a custom ComCheck built for our amendments. So the implementation date would be after that is available to the public.
Right.
So there's still going to be, a holding time, because we're not going to require applicants to comply unless they have the tools necessary to complete a submittal package. So there's that time as well that would automatically be baked into the implementation date. Even if we're adopted January 1st, we wouldn't implement it until we had tools available to the public.
And we don't know how long that's gonna take.
Yeah, we don't, they said that they would get working on it immediately after it's adopted by mayor and council. But the amount of time that it takes, they didn't specify.
So it sounds like it would be beneficial then the sooner we can adopt this, the sooner they could start implementing that.
That is true.
Okay.
But the thing is, you need enough lead time because, new projects are starting now in design, but design may go on for 4 or 5 months. Can't really hit the energy side until we know what this ComCheck's going to be and how we're going to really get through it. And that involves making decisions on envelopes, decisions on mechanical equipment systems, decisions on lighting, all these things. So that the building will actually pass when you get to that point. So perhaps we do need to get this thing adopted so that the process can get going. But I don't think you can actually make it effective until such time that everything that's in the pipeline already can stay where they're at, so somebody doesn't have to, switch lanes to get compliance. Because some projects, in design phase, it can take a while.
This is Clayton. I would not recommend an implementation date of January 1st. That's not enough time for PNNL to create custom software for us. So even if it were adopted before the end of the year, my recommendation would be it wouldn't be implemented until probably the beginning of the next fiscal year. just because we are so close now to January 1st, we don't have enough time for custom software to be designed for us.
But in the ordinance, they can set that effective date.
Yep.
6 months after the software is available.
Correct.
Fiscal year's July 1.
Yep.
So that means we need to make our decision close in a timely manner so that it could get adopted in time so that the July 1 date would be far enough out from the adoption that ongoing projects don't get hit to the point where they have to change the direction they're going. So probably we have a little bit of time, but not a whole lot.
But it's basically contingent on when that software is available.
Yes, it would have to be.
So if it's available March 1st, you need what,
Maybe.
like 6 months?
Let's say it's 6 months.
Okay.
Yeah, the medium-sized projects can easily take that long. I mean, some blow through and really fast, but others really drag on.
Right. And realize the only ones that I think are gonna be, well, the comm check, most of them are gonna need to go through. And if they're 50,000 square feet or more, most people would probably just opt for the energy model.
Yeah, but the problem is the technical requirements have still changed. I have completely different lighting power densities that are allowed.
Correct.
And so, and that affects, the design of lighting systems.
Yeah.
So if we think we're safe to stay on the 2018, we design that way and then all of a sudden get slammed with, we got this code adoption. Now there's a lot of extra work to redesign those things. So I'd like to find a way to avoid that. We could say, well, design it now, but then we don't necessarily have all the compliance software to do that.
Right, right.
Yeah, this is Dan, with Pima County. Ken, just a quick question. You said you have not had a chance to go through the new comm check yet to see how it works on it.
I have not, no.
I'm just wondering if it would be worth giving you another month to do that.
Yep.
Before we make
We could do that.
any decisions. Just a question.
So I could take that same one that I did the energy models for that I shared with everybody, and same project. It's a city project, and just run through the comm checks. We've got all the electrical and envelope and all that, so I can go through that and see what that looks like.
Oh, good, more work for Ken.
Yeah,
Yeah, sorry. Didn't mean to cause more work.
that's okay.
Just wondering if it'd be worth doing.
It will come back one way or the other. So
So everyone's agreed, we'll give it a month and let
Okay.
Ken do an evaluation.
all right.
So we got a letter from Saba. They have concerns. We've been focusing on the commercial. They're obviously concerned about the residential, so I'd like to open up to Saba, who wants to speak and express your concerns.
So we would absolutely like to. Brendan Lyons, Government Affairs, Saba. We believe anytime a jurisdiction makes a policy change or recommendation, it impacts the industry. Consistency is something we would absolutely push for. Oro Valley had made comments of their concerns are the cost factors implementing that. And so in lieu of foregoing the latest IECC, we would recommend the Energy Star 3.1 to be an amendment to be considered. Many of our builders are already doing that currently, which goes above and beyond the 2018 codes. So that's the recommendation we would make. Ben, would you have anything to add?
Yeah, Ben Mueller Garcia. Many of our builders right now are building to 3.2, which is, adding significant energy savings over the 2018 code. And obviously, our principal concern is just are the costs of this, and I know the committee is sensitive to that. So also a standardization. I mean, if Oro Valley and Marana, not if, but Oro Valley, Marana, and Saudita have decided not to make that change, and there was just one major jurisdiction that makes things a little difficult out on the industry side. We also had some of our builders are looking, at the code. there's been at least one other recommendation on the residential side that we'd like to present. We did not put that in the letter, so I think it's wise of this group to wait a little bit to make sure we can make this as good as possible. And my hope would be that this alternative would get you where you want to go and address the concerns of the potential elected bodies as far as energy savings without having to go through the brain damage of finding our way through the 2024 code if adopted.
I guess the question that we need to answer, how does that compare to the proposed energy code?
That I'm not an engineer, so I can't answer that.
I don't think anybody's done that evaluation, so that would be a question. If I were on the council, that I would have.
So to your point, Mr. Chairman, if you want to maybe look at that and be able to come back to you with some details on how that would parallel.
Right.
So who does your energy calcs on the residential?
I look it up basically what our builders are using. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I don't know who does that.
I don't know.
And some builders use registrants and some builders don't.
But I guess what you're thinking is you're hoping that most of the builders will start using Dennis Coons.
Dennis doesn't have time.
So this is Ken, I mean, we've seen, for residential, they do, an Energy Star, depending on, I'm not quite familiar with the version you're talking about, but we do a lot of, multifamily housing projects, and their funding depends on, getting that, one of those Energy Star levels. I don't know which level it is, for the funding. And so that does require, some energy modeling, but that is usually a different type of energy model than what's in this. So they're using a different program. It's a little bit different, and so it's usually there's a couple guys up at Phoenix, 2 or 3 guys up at Phoenix that do it, and I forget the name of their firm, but they it's a different energy model that they do. That's basically an Energy Star program that they go through, and you get a HERS rating and things like that. Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, Ben Bueller Garcia, again, I'd be happy to work through my contacts at the Multi-Housing Association up in Phoenix and see if I can get those names and find out for you what they're using.
Yeah.
So are you guys getting a HERS rating with this model? With this?
I'm not certain. I don't know.
They do,
Okay.
the production builders that are using Energy Star right now in the county do get a HERS rating.
So do they get the inspections?
They do, but when they go Energy Star, they get to do, what would you call it? Sampling,
Yeah.
where they don't have to inspect every single building,
Right.
but they will inspect every 3rd, 5th, 7th,
They
whatever.
keep failing, then they
Yeah.
inspect more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So right now, currently under the 2018s, we are allowing Energy Star as an above code program.
So
But
to me, these energy codes fall down, especially in residential on the construction. They're not held to a higher standard. I mean, sloppy insulation, and I mean, just not as tight, not as well done. If someone's not watching. So that's the bigger bang for the buck, in my view, just to get it installed for the code. So that would be the big advantage of that code to me. But I think we need to get a comparison of actual numbers to really evaluate that. So if I'm sitting on the mayor council, that would be my question. How does it compare to this? What are we looking at? Okay. So we beat this topic to death?
The only other question I would have, and I don't know how to look for that other than just going online and looking, but other than Phoenix, have other jurisdictions adopted the 2024 IC? Do we know yet?
Yes, several others in the Phoenix metro area
Okay.
have. We can get you a comprehensive list for the next meeting.
That'd be good. Just curious on how many have adopted.
Would be good to stay in touch just to see how.
Right.
How it's going.
And seeing how they're showing compliance and things like that. Yeah.
Okay, well, let's move on to item 4, mechanical code. Back to Ken again. Poor Ken.
Yeah, no, there's no more changes that have occurred, and I think we're in good shape. Like I said, they did come out with that amendment in the ASHRAE 15, basically just says you don't have to be in a vent. It was already in ASHRAE 15, they just clarified it so that it sticks out. You don't have to be in a ventilated shaft so long as you have tested it and documented the testing per ASHRAE 15, which is a whole section on it. So,
Mr. Chairman, that was not an agenda.
you're right, it wasn't.
Code and ASHRAE?
It was last month.
It says mechanical code and ASHRAE.
That was the previous one
Oh,
that we already approved. So, yeah, so there's no change to that.
so we took the grading off?
Correct. This is Clayton. The grading discussion has been delayed. We had hoped to have a presentation for you this month from some of the builders and engineers. Due to absence for various reasons, they were not available to present this month. And so we've postponed that to next month. We are hoping to have a presentation for you to discuss a number of items related to site grading to give you a more comprehensive view of the whole topic.
Okay,
We're not prepared at this time to have that.
and that's coming from Sava's gonna prepare something?
Mhm.
Okay. All right. Now to call to the audience, huh? All right. Call to the audience. Sava, do you have any?
Not this time.
Okay,
Yeah, so
so Sava's got their homework. Huh? The energy code and the grading.
We don't mean to disappoint.
Okay, so you think we'll be able to pull that all together in a month? The two items?
I think so.
All right, so,
We do have a number of folks online. Just want to give anybody else the opportunity for all the audience.
okay. Are you raising their hand online?
Nope.
Okay. No further comments. We're to item 6, adjournment. A motion to adjourn.
Ms. Dennis, I move to adjourn.
Second,
Ken, I second it.
all in favor?
Aye.
Is there anybody opposed? We are adjourned.
Much shorter than last week.
Yeah.